So, Kojima got stung by 10 bees
Oh,
all
yeah.
at once one time. And the pain makes a lot more sense now. Hey, I'm Fingers.
Yo, this is Vector.
Hey everyone, this is Days Ahead.
And I'm Nitroid. You're listening to the Kojima Frequency.
No, I'm liking these Hideo musings. They're kind of neat. I appreciate that he's putting them out.
No,
It reminds me of Hideo blog.
Yeah.
Hideo blog.
I mean, it could be Kojima, it could be anybody, but just the thought of, like, your college job, getting stung by bees, like, just the mental imagery, I don't know.
I don't follow him, so I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Oh, man, you're missing out. He fell out of a tree after drinking beer. It's good stuff.
And then he got stung by 10 bees.
Yeah.
That was his job during college before,
To hang out in trees and drink beer?
he worked at a garden. And I just picture him getting stung by bees and being like, when I start making movies, these bees are going to regret crossing me.
That was his first project was going to be The Bees, and it was going to be a play on The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock. I'd watch that movie.
He occasionally brings up that he used to make a lot of like student films. And I would really like to see those. Like, I'm curious what, high school Kojima would be like as a creator. I mean, when we're in high school, we're all terrible as creatives because we're still figuring stuff out.
Right.
But it's also like a lot more honest. So I'm just kind of curious, like what sort of things he would have made back then.
See, I'm worried it'll be like a Kurt Cobain's high school film situation where people will take his like just dumbass teen musings and try to extrapolate some type of creative meaning out of it.
Do you think it would be like Seth MacFarlane high school movies where he's just, instead of doing like mock-up episodes of Star Trek, he's like making knockoff John Carpenter movies?
Yeah.
Now that's going way too far back though, so that wouldn't be what it is. But
I bet they must have been all lost in a fire or something. Or tapes got corrupted or...
A very convenient fire.
Right. I'm sure there's no evidence that any of this exists. Just like I remember reading his Wikipedia article when I was way young, and it said he had written 10 novels by the time he was 12 or something. It was one of those, like, it seemed like a propaganda piece, like Kim Jong-un invented the hamburger or some shit.
God, I'd love to write one novel.
It sounds like a cult leader writing his manifestos.
Yeah, have you heard the legend that, when Kim Jong-un was 5 years old, he shot an AK-47 10 times and from 300 yards and they were all a bullseye? That's like, this is in the history textbook of North Korea. So...
I don't know a lot about North Korea, but I did see a video once about a pizza parlor in one of their taller hotels. And I was personally offended by how poorly they made that pizza.
Was it worse than the BBC making rice?
I have not seen that, but that sounds amazing.
It's so bad. But that's neither here nor there. Any codec moments from you guys?
Well, we do have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Whole lot of questions.
We could talk really quick about the Hideo musings where he talked about... he did mention Luca Marinelli as Solid Snake.
Right.
It's like a guy that he had... he said he caught my eye after watching The Old Guard and Martin Eden.
Imagine being that guy right now.
I don't see it.
Oh, man.
I don't see it.
Somebody threw a bandana on him. Did you retweet that, Nitroid?
Jose Molinas did, and a couple other people did.
Yeah,
but I can kind of see it with
but...
like just that description of him having like the sunken in kind of eyes and the whole Christopher Walken type mix.
Yeah, if you describe his features on paper, they do align with Snake's, but when you actually see the person, I'm seeing like half. This is gonna be really insulting. I see like 80% Snake and then like 20% of Pro Jared. I don't know.
Pro Jared?
No.
And I just ruined that for everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, but I don't know. I can kind of see it. Damn it! Now I see Pro Jared. You fucked me up on that. I All right, yeah, scratch this guy.
I'm seeing like 20% pro Jared and 80% James McAvoy.
I like James McAvoy. Who's pro Jared?
Let's not talk about that.
You're better off.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Do I know this guy? I don't know this guy. Anyway, look. No, he's not gonna play Solid Snake. First off, his eyes are green. They're not blue. So he's
timing.
invalid.
Contacts do not exist. This movie is ruined.
No, they don't.
Well, just because he says he looks like Solid Snake
Yeah.
doesn't mean he wants him to play Solid Snake.
No, I think he was just being, a jackass and saying like he's the spitting image of Solid Snake. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, but
And you know it.
Yeah, we have to entertain this because he said it and that's in our title. So
And Metal Gear fans are fickle about who they want to play as Snake anyway. First it was Hugh Jackman, then it was Christian Bale.
Right.
And
Oh,
now it's Oscar Isaac, and now it's this guy. So, like, it'll be somebody else in, like, 2 months.
And you threw out Eric Bana.
Yeah, I got the criticism that he's getting too old, and
There's that.
Maybe, I guess. But, Black Hawk Down kind of stuck with me.
look, I'm the biggest Black Hawk Down fan, but nobody took you seriously when you said I want a 75-year-old man to play young Solid Snake. And I know
Well-
he's not actually 75, but he's getting there.
may as well be
75
in Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. He's a 75 in dog / Hollywood
All right,
years.
so who would you put? I mean, ideally, you'd want an unknown to play that role.
Exactly, and that's exactly. I couldn't tell you who I wanted to play Solid Snake because I haven't met him yet.
I think
and
we can all
don't want
agree.
to.
I think we can all agree that if Paul W.S. Anderson directed Metal Gear Solid, then Snake
no.
would be played by Mila Jovovich.
No. You gotta. I've watched all 6 Resident Evil films. Unfortunately, ironically as well.
That man's wife needs work, damn it.
She
Yeah.
would not be Snake. She would be an OC. She'd be an original character who was like a genome soldier who like woke up in the midst of the genome rebellion with Liquid.
Oh.
But like Solid Snake and Meryl would be like her in the same vein as Resident Evil. They'd be her like little side characters who follow her around and don't make that much of an impact on the story because she's Paul W.S. Anderson's wife.
God, that's exactly how it would go.
If she was sleeping, what was she doing before?
That's what you gotta find out. What was she doing before? That's the mystery box.
Because that's what Mila Jovovich is good at, sleeping.
At least we would know what we were getting out of the movie.
She would find
Multipass.
a picture of herself with like the president of Arms Tech in the commander room after she beats Psycho Mantis, and then she gets flashbacks.
Right.
And it's like, ooh, mystery box. What did she do at Shadow Moses beforehand? And like, Snake and Meryl help her through these revelations. And the most subplot that Snake gets is like dealing with the repercussions of fighting his brother. But Mila ends up killing Liquid. And he just helps
Here's
him
how I
aside.
would do it. Final battle after the Jeeps crash at the end of MGS1. Liquid Snake reaches his hand out and he yells, "Fox!" And Mila Jovovich goes, "Multipass."
The thing is, I think she's an all right actress, but she keeps getting put in these just like schlocky roles. She kind of reminds me of like Malcolm McDowell in that respect, where you've got someone who's very clearly capable, but they just get put in the worst stuff imaginable.
She's getting paid.
Yeah.
At that level, you don't care.
Yeah.
You get your
Guess.
paycheck, and then, you go collect your paycheck 2 times.
I mean,
so
it's not going to make or break my love for Monster Hunter. I just think it's hilarious if you look at it from a critical standpoint. Another scenario of Paul W.S. Anderson kind of showcasing his wife.
who else is going to do it, though? You think Charlize Theron is going to be in the Monster Hunter movie? No.
Oh, man. I know that Monster Hunter fans are just lampooning it left and right, though.
What did you say the Red Letter Media guys said about her?
Oh, they said, I forget the exact quote, but they said they watched like the first 4 Resident Evil films, right? And they said that like you could go to any frame of Mila. I'm not gonna pronounce her last name because I can't. You can go to any frame of her in that film of Alice, and she like you would not know the emotional context because she like displays the same emotion in like every frame. It's actually I highly recommend you guys watch it.
What, you mean like that tired bewilderment, but also with a hint of sarcasm?
Yeah.
So, she is the Kristen Stewart of video game movies, or is Kristen Stewart the Mila Jovovich of other bad movies? Anyway,
I gotta
moving
think about
on.
that. Question time.
Moving right along.
Wait.
Kristen Stewart is Meryl? What?
Dude,
I'm just trying to piss you off.
I swear to God,
You're gonna curse this movie.
I would go see it even more if you did that. Because,
So, is it kosher for us to discuss the Silent Hill tweet, or is there anything to even discuss about?
oh yeah, we gotta talk about that.
I figured it was a good segue from like Kojima's musings, and it's like, speaking of social media.
Ooh, yeah. All right, get into it.
Just so we're clear, which tweet are we referring to?
We are referring to
The whole thread, right?
Yeah, the whole thread, but the one that started with just that video that was like pitch black, and all it was the Silent Hill horn.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
You had to know what was gonna happen.
I mean, I knew, but because like I wouldn't have read into that at all. That'd have been stupid to even think like, oh, this is proof, or is Konami hinting that they're gonna make another Silent Hill?
Agreed.
No, they're just supporting some stuff. Dead by Daylight. They're promoting the promotion that they're promoting.
Yeah.
that's
But
all
you
they're
see,
doing.
That's obvious to us as people who read something and then think about it for more than a half second.
Right.
A company mentioned their IP. What the fuck?
For some people, when they hear
Clearly,
that,
this means that we're getting 8 new games and a remake.
I appreciated the sample. They were just like, here's the clean sample by itself.
Nice. Real nice.
then you make a good Silent Hill remake.
Yeah,
Remix.
that's what I need to do.
And then Konami retweets it, and then they get bombarded.
Oh man, it's a vicious cycle.
yeah,
That's
it
a
sucks. They'll like retweet a remix of something. That's all I see in the comments of my own tweet. It's just like, make the new Silent Hill now. It's just like, Jesus.
Just to put it out there, the community reps at Konami have nothing to do with the things that fans may or may not be upset about. They are doing their jobs, and they are cool guys.
Yep.
We can, disclose that we've had conversations with them on multiple occasions. Just be nice.
Well, yeah, for people that maybe aren't on the Twitterverse as much, what exactly happened?
They tweeted out a video, and it had the Silent Hill siren from Silent Hill 2. But I think, and Dead by Daylight is, out, so they've got the new add-on for that. So that's kind of the thing that I saw. It's like it's a connection to that
Right.
that product that's
Yeah.
being promoted right now. So it wasn't something like, whoa, this is out of nowhere.
Right.
They were being playful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's essentially it.
And to add a little, there's no context or anything like that. So of course, fanboys, that's a bad term to use, but fans, their amygdala starts rising up and they get excited and they start tweeting out things and making blog posts, and the Konami Twitter comes back and is like, hey guys, that was just a promotion for Dead by Daylight, really sorry for, confusing everybody. And then it just became this sort of like dumpster fire. And that's not an indictment on Konami or their reps or anything like that. I just felt like an accident waiting to happen.
There are 2 takeaways from this. Takeaway number 1 is that fans can be really stupid at times by taking the smallest thing and blowing it way out of proportion and reading into it in ways that it was very obviously not meant to be read into if you
Right.
take a
Sure.
minute to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's takeaway number 1. Takeaway number 2, if you are in charge of communicating things for these brands, you've got to be aware of how rabid these fans are over the smallest things.
It feels like no matter what they tweet, though, right now, just everybody's pissed off at
Yeah.
Konami, and it's just like the hostility level of like anything that they say or put out. It's just like, ugh, that kind of
Yeah.
bothers me. It's just like, all right, then like you said, it's like they'll come back and then ask, oh, but please make this game though, and it's just
Right?
I don't know.
It's so
You
weird.
can't bite the
Like,
hand that's and like I get there's valid criticism for certain game, like with the Contra game that came out recently, Contra Rogue Core. that wasn't a traditional Contra game. And then you had Blazing Chrome come out, which was like, okay, this is what we're used to. But now you see twin stick shooters coming out left and right, and people are like, all right, cool. So it's just like, it's this weird, because it's Konami factor that's going on, that like anything that they do right now, people are just like, ugh.
I hate you. I'm so angry at you, but can I please get a remake of Metal Gear Solid?
You ruined Kojima's career. He's homeless and sitting in a cardboard box right now. That's just fucked up. And, it's just, I get people can have sides on that, but.
It's like yelling at a kid at a fast food counter because you disagree with the decisions of the restaurant. Like, that's going to get you nowhere.
Man, I just make the fries.
Yeah.
Right.
Ma'am, this is a Wendy's.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, I feel bad for the social media guy. He's just sitting there like, God, guys.
Well, look, if you're a social media manager, if that's your job, then hopefully you know
it's part of the job. Yeah,
and
you gotta have thick skin for it.
And hopefully you also know that only 5 to like less than that, it's the vast minority of fans that are vocal and angry and that's spewing this bullshit. So I don't feel sorry for whoever's running the Twitter, because that's their job, and hopefully they know. If they don't,
yeah, not sorry for them. That's not the right word for sure.
Right. At the same time, yeah. Go ahead, Nitro.
No, go ahead and finish. Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't even know where I was going. Honestly, I'm more frustrated at myself for not being able to finish the thought. So, I yield my time.
Let's say bow out.
I liken being a social media manager to working retail.
Oh, fuck.
It's true.
As somebody who used to work retail and had to deal with so many stupid customers who should be smart enough to understand that I cannot move, the earth and the sky for them. Like, I'm sorry that you bought this thing 3 months ago, you opened it up, tore it up, got it covered in dirt, don't like it now, and want to return it, but that's not my problem anymore. You can call my district manager as many times as you want, and he's going to tell you the same shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's kind of the job of somebody working in retail, to field that kind of hate, I guess. But at the same time, like, can we strive sort of communally to be nicer to A, people who work in retail because they've got enough crap to deal with,
Amen.
and B, people who are community managers because they have also got enough crap to deal with.
God bless.
So, yeah.
And here's the thing. The tweet itself, I think, was very innocent. It says, close your eyes, always scary, Silent Hill 2 siren. And it's literally a black screen with the siren playing. It has 344,000 views. So, people enjoyed it. It's got a lot of likes, a lot of retweets.
Dude, they could literally tweet, "Hi, how are you?" and people would be screaming at them.
Or just like the codec sound. Like if they tweet the codec sound, it's like, what the fuck? Where's Metal Gear?
Right. Or I guess on some level, I sort of understand why people read into it, because the siren noise has a very specific meaning in Silent Hill, sort of like the alert sound in Metal Gear. Like there is a meaning attached to that.
It's a call to attention, kind of,
Yeah, things are about to change. Might be a way to look at it.
But so on that note, they did follow up the tweet a couple threads down. It says, we're sorry we got people fired up. Anything official would come first from @Silent Hill or an event or something. And is that a new account? Yes, it is. Joined July 2020. So
I gotta follow that.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So
that's telling.
That's the thing where I'm like, all right, people, just follow that account, chill, and wait, because I would think they would make a new account, and it just says welcome to Silent Hill. Got a nice little orange Silent Hill font graphic up here, and they're just retweeting Silent Hill stuff.
I mean, we can only get so many 4chan links before a remake finally does happen. I mean, I'm kidding.
That's what I'm saying. So like, I would rather be optimistic and hopeful than just like shitty.
Yeah.
That's my outlook. Like I kind of always try to seem to be like the positive guy, but that's just, I don't like just yelling at a company. That's not fun.
Well, people don't have the mental faculties to not yell. That's why they yell, because they lack vocabulary.
there are less destructive ways to express your dissatisfaction with something.
Yeah, do what I did.
Ways that don't make people go home and cry.
Oh, that's what I did.
No.
Fuck. I went
Not
home
to
and
suggest that they're going home and crying, but
Well,
but after some of the things that people have said, I might.
I think you can like definitely just show interest in an IP too. Be like, hey, it'd be awesome if you put out the collection. Like that kind of stuff is great, you know. Like and seeing that must be like, oh, okay, I'll let the guys know. A lot of people are talking about bring the HD collection to PS4 or you know whatever. Like maybe we can make that happen if enough people show interest and say they're gonna buy it.
Like day one for me.
Yeah, for sure. Konami, listening, maybe I don't know.
Put them all up.
You know, I got two. I got an angel and a devil on either side of my shoulders. So on one hand, to all the fans out there, or the Silent Hill stands that won't shut up, like you'll know when Konami's gonna announce a new Silent Hill when you see an official announcement, like or a re-release on Steam or something. It's not gonna be something like a tweet with a siren. That's just dumb. At the same time, if Konami's not working on, like if they have this dead franchise like Silent Hill or Metal Gear or Castlevania or Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever it is, you know, and they're not actively monetizing that, you can't buy the games anywhere, then it is kind of a dick move to play on people's hopes and dreams when you're not actively working on something. So I understand the frustration, but I don't condone the reaction.
Yeah.
that's a good way to phrase it.
That's about as well as I can phrase something. Because I studied languages in college. But anyway, moving right along.
He studied 7 languages.
Les enfants terribles.
Hey, Troy.
All right.
Well,
So did you hear that Junji Ito was going to work with Kojima on something, except he's not? And
Right.
that's really depressing.
are you telling me that two creatives shot the shit and at some point in that conversation said, hey man, we should work on something, and people extrapolated that into something like crazy?
Right?
It's wild, man.
Yeah, it was I don't even have words because all of a sudden on Facebook there were all these shares and posts from different news sources of
And that's way
No, it's
worse
not happening.
than a Silent Hill tweet with a siren, in my opinion. Just people like running with something very innocent like that and just going, oh, that's it. They're making them
Without
they're
a
making
doubt.
thing.
Sorry, that was partially my fault.
I mean,
So
Oh,
I
thanks.
take responsibility for spreading this, but in my defense, it came from comicbook.com.
Viable source.
look,
No, that's even
I
worse.
took that immediately with skepticism as somebody who's been reading these headlines for the past, ever since PG was canceled.
Right.
I was ready to eat crow. But, like, this trope seems to happen. Like I said, like, two creatives, they shoot the shit. One of them says, hey, we need to do something. And then the blogs take it way too far.
Yeah, I think it is kind of stupid though. If you're two creatives and you're shooting the shit, why are you publicizing it? Because you know what it's going to do. So they must have done that on purpose. In my eyes, they were trying intentionally to stir controversy, that's some Druckmann level manipulation. Don't do it.
Well, it seems to have been misinterpreted in general. It wasn't necessarily their fault, you know.
No, I blame them now. Because they wanted it to be misinterpreted. That's why Junji Ito, he did the interview where he said, like, yeah, you know, we were talking about it. He went on record.
He wouldn't have name dropped without, a purpose. Kinda.
Right. He went on record saying that. It wasn't like, somebody contacted me. I can't say who it is, but, I don't think it's going to happen. We'll have to see. He specifically, they named names. Both of them were like, yeah, we're in talks. Who knows what could happen? And then Silent Hill does the tweet. It's just, come on.
That's the thing is, it's all kind of marketing in my eyes. It's just like,
Right.
attention is the new currency type deal. It's like, you just want people talking about your stuff so more people are drawn in and, oh, who's Hideo Kojima? And,
I mean, it's no different from a celebrity going on a talk show talking about being best friends with another celebrity, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
Is
definitely.
Kojima the Kanye of video games?
No.
Is he running for Prime Minister of Japan?
You remember when
yet.
Kanye was like looking for Kojima at like E3 or something? He was like on Twitter.
Yeah,
like,
he was like, "Holla at me."
I need to get in contact with Kojima, and then like Jeff Keighley mentioned him and was like, I could help you with that.
And then Kojima was like,
God.
deuces.
Yeah. Right.
Where's Jesus?
I'm sure he told his. I wouldn't be surprised if.
Can I get a sooner flight?
Kanye's a co-writer on Death Stranding, which is actually doing pretty good on PC. So
I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, surprisingly good.
How good are we talking?
Top of their sales charts for
Oh, no way.
quite a while. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
I don't know if we discussed this the last episode, but I know we kind of touched at some point about why that might be. Maybe people like understand the expectations of the game now instead of everybody kind of going into this with no like context.
yeah,
I
it's not Metal Gear.
I will say, my personal experience has been much better, obviously because of the graphic fidelity being enhanced.
Unless you didn't update your graphics drivers.
Oh yeah, no San Norman Reedus for me. I remember this happening with Revengeance as well. Like, not that Revengeance wasn't taken poorly when it came out on consoles, but I just distinctly remember this like renaissance of Metal Gear Rising and Revengeance and all the memes once it came back out on PC.
There are significant problems with I don't want to say the PC release of Rising, but the Mac release. I don't know if you guys know about this.
There's a Mac release?
There was a Mac OS App Store release of Metal Gear Rising, and it had some sort of, I don't know if it was de novo or what, but it had some sort of anti-piracy measure built into it that has to call home. I'm going from memory here. It's been a while since I've dug into this, so I might get a couple of details wrong. But
Yeah.
the servers that it had to talk to are no longer active. So if you own a legal copy of Rising on the Mac, you cannot play it.
I'm sorry, Nitroid.
That'll teach you.
Yeah.
Legally.
Which I get that we're talking about like maybe 6 people max.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I don't care if it's one person, don't do this shit.
It does suck when stuff goes offline and just completely inaccessible.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I'm worried about with Survive. And I think we've talked about it a little bit, but Survive is a strictly online game. And whether you love it or hate it.
Yeah, even the single player.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, put aside for the moment whether you love that game, whether you hate that game, like, whatever you think about it, from a strictly game preservation standpoint, this is a problem. Because you have to be online to play a game that has a large single-player component to it. And there will eventually be no way to play it outside of somebody creating and managing some kind of fan server. So hopefully if they decide to, end of life this game, they push out some sort of patch for it. But even then,
Yeah, right.
even then that's not really going to matter.
When has that ever happened?
Right, exactly. But even then it wouldn't matter because if you buy a disc and the servers with the updates go down, you're shit out of luck.
I think Death Stranding would definitely be affected too by that once those servers go down. Like that game would suck without the help from Buddy.
I was about to say.
But you'd still be able to play it.
Yeah,
like how Demon's Souls lost the servers.
Yeah, that's definitely hard, extra hard. Like, yeah, that's if you want very, very hard mode. European Extreme is just play offline and then turn it on very hard.
Yeah, but the good news about that is the PS3 emulator, it has limited online play now, so there's hope.
It's wild what those guys are doing.
Yeah, wizards, I tell you.
So I guess they've got the multiplayer, the online component of Demon's Souls working now, emulated, right?
Right. Yeah, that's insane.
Crazy.
Speaking of stuff that you never thought would happen in a billion years, you want to talk about the Gigaleague?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
The Gigaleague. That's what they're calling it. It's like the Snapture.
So, the gist of it, as I understand it, is that a bunch of development resources for the IQE, I don't know how you pronounce it, but it was like a Chinese version of the N64 with like some built-in games, got leaked. There wasn't like a huge amount of source code as a lot of people were initially reporting, but it did have a lot of development files. So the big one being, Luigi's model from Mario 64 while he was still in development.
Right.
But there was also a bunch of things from like Ocarina of Time and Mario Kart 64 and like all these different levels and 3D models, early sprites for Mario World and Yoshi's Island and all sorts of things that they pulled out of this.
Uncompressed voice samples too.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah, hearing like the Star Fox samples just by themselves is like, wow, it's nice and clear.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And also reportedly, Mario 64 spent 622 days in development. We now allegedly that's how long it took. So
right, because they listed the start date and the end date of development in the document.
Yeah, I think stuff like that is great because now we have a better picture of the actual resources that went into building certain games, and I look forward to it happening more often. So data miners, keep doing whatever you're doing.
I would love to see more of this for Metal Gear just to see what sort of things have been left on the cutting room floor. But
right,
God knows what's out there. And with some of the Metal Gear games, if there were development files leaked, I would be curious to see if there were any remnants of the alleged multiplayer mode that was in development for MGS2. Which I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that.
The truth is out there.
So again, this is kind of drifting into like apocryphal territory, and I've got to dig up the sources for these. But at one point, there was a multiplayer mode in development for Metal Gear Solid 2, and it would have been essentially like I believe a split screen sort of thing.
Right.
And allegedly, the remnant of that is the arena that you fight in Substance, the Zako survival mode. That
Nice.
last. If you remember that last mission where it's like you versus a ton of soldiers on two ends of an arena, like that was apparently the leftovers of that multiplayer mode, but they said they just couldn't get it to work well.
Man, Metal Gear Solid 2 is unfinished. It's fucked up.
Couldn't run out of the tanker and get away from the water. And
somebody better tweet at the Konami social media guy and let him know that's a problem.
Right.
If we're going to talk about unfinished games, man, MGS4...
Let's start a petition. That's how we get shit done.
What?
Yeah, MGS4.
Dude, like, no joke. I mean, my feelings about that game aside, there is so much stuff on the cutting room floor for that game that I would love to see. Like, Act 3 very famously had a huge chunk cut out of the middle where you would have an escort mission with Big Mama, and you would have to go into the sewers. And there would be Gecko prowling down there, and you would have to like climb up through manholes and go on the top area of the city and then climb back down into the sewer, and you'd have to like open floodgates to change the water flow, and it was like this really elaborate mission that they just cut out.
Now,
and
that
eventually turned into a Metal Gear Online map.
I don't know, that sounds ripe for, we did playtesting and it kind of sucked.
Yeah. And I hate escort missions anyway, so probably for the best.
It sounds like the water temple for sure.
I thought I didn't want it, but on second thought, I think I might enjoy the chance to knock Eva out and drag her through a claymore again.
Then there were parts
times.
on Act 4 in Shadow Moses where you had a couple different areas to approach the facility. And one of them would take you over a frozen lake that you had to be careful walking across or it would collapse underneath you.
Okay.
And you can see sort of like a remnant of the path that would have been taken to get in and out of that lake area if you go to the heliport, I believe. It's either the heliport or the canyon, one of the two. There's like a little remnant of a path there. But the other aspect was they were going to have more of the nuclear weapons disposal building accessible. So you could go to like the floor where Psycho Manus's room was.
Huh.
But they cut all that out.
Yeah, hey, sometimes stuff gets cut. That doesn't mean the game's unfinished. But, I mean, the thing about the game being unfinished, they had design documents and they had started development on DLC for MGS5, and they were intending on making extra content. and then they stopped making it. So in my eyes, that counts as unfinished. But the main game is obviously 100% complete.
It would be interesting to see if they would ever revisit it, but from what I've heard, the part of the reason they didn't want to finish it was they felt it was kind of disrespectful to do so without Kojima.
Bullshit.
Take that with a grain of salt. That comes from...
I'm not saying bullshit to you. Whoever
that comes from somebody
that
I know who is closer to this, so, you know.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what they said about 2 and 3, but then that didn't stop anybody from making Portable Ops or Ghost Babel or
True, but those were
Rising,
under, those are while he was still there.
Or what about Survive then? Is that a like disrespect to Kojima's legacy, the fact that Survive exists? No, of course not.
I would argue that is a low-key tribute.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with homage.
And nobody will believe me.
Yeah, especially after that one radio call.
Right, where it's basically describing everything that happened.
Yeah, I posted that on my YouTube channel. That whole exchange is just eerily reminiscent of what exactly was going on at that time.
Yeah, those meta alarm bells are ringing real loud on that one.
Yeah.
Speaking of alarms, really quick, we should talk about the Splinter Cell anime that's in development.
Oh yeah, that was a nice
It's happening.
surprise.
It's funny, after we said in the last episode about how, what if a Metal Gear, or what if a Splinter Cell movie? Yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then,
But then they took
here
it
comes
and just
this
went,
announcement.
Now they're dropping the anime announcement on us. And it's like, well, but personally, I'll take it. I'll take anything Splinter Cell pretty much. I think that will work, and I think the simplicity of it is what's in its favor of it happening so quick. Whereas Metal Gear, there's all these different layers that they're trying to consider. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean,
something Metal Gear is going to happen. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if anybody's ever read a Tom Clancy novel. I find them boring to a fault. Not that there's such thing as boring in a good way. He's just plain boring. But I do like the Splinter Cell games, but I couldn't tell you what political intrigue is in there. It's, my whole thing was Sam Fisher and his daughter. The issue here is who's going to play Sam Fisher, because I don't think Michael Ironside can do it anymore.
Well, that's why they went with the anime, so they're just,
Right.
Oh, you're saying for the voice.
I mean, it's going to be animated. He was never, they never really got Michael Ironside in the performance capture. That'd be funny, though.
Yeah,
But the problem is,
I'd watch the hell out of that.
No, he weighs like 350 pounds now. And
that didn't stop Steven Seagal.
It did. It stopped him from doing a lot of things.
Look, it didn't stop him, but it may have adjusted folks' reaction.
It slowed him down a bit.
Hold on, I hate to jump the topic here, but I want to make sure we get this. I want to plug this for a second. So while you guys were discussing the missing content from Metal Gear Solid 4, I went into. Have you guys ever been to the cuttingroomfloor.net?
No.
Hell yes.
So I know we briefly discussed the page. So the cutting room floor is basically they extract data from software. Things that you wouldn't see typically when you're running the software as usual. I probably didn't describe that very well. But I've always looked at the Metal Gear page, and Metal Gear Solid has a few highlights in there. There's a texture of Sniper Wolf after she got shot in the head.
Right.
And I think we've discussed those a little bit before. But one I didn't know was there is Gray Fox. He actually does that train station motto that you generally people associate with the Colonel AI.
Yep.
They recorded a session of Gray Fox. I think it was, Doug Stone? Gray Fox.
Yeah. He's still alive, by the way.
Going, reciting that train station line. I'll link it to you guys right here. And the only reason I even interrupted this to bring it up is because it freaked me the fuck out when I played it.
Well, wait. No, Doug Stone was Psycho Mantis.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, I gotta point that out if we're gonna.
No.
We're gonna
Was
get
it
yelled
Greg
at.
Eagles?
That's right.
Yeah, Greg Eagles.
There's a G sound in there. That's all I knew.
I thought you could still hear this stuff in the game.
You can hear this. So if you look at the caption, apparently what they had done was they cut his recital into individual segments, and they put it in the background during the scene where you're going through the corridor before you run into him in Otacon's lab. So it's technically in the game, but we never hear this like full sound.
Yeah, it's like layered, so like it's saying all the names out of order and kind of mixed together. It's not in like a single string.
Correct. And for some reason, just hearing it in a single string is like a little more unnerving to me. I don't know.
Why is that unnerving? I don't get it.
Well, one, I already associate it with the kernel AI, so there's already that like precedence. Two, the fact that it's like in the game, but not necessarily in the game, and hearing it in its like pure form. Also,
yeah, that sounds scary as shit.
It gives you,
I
like,
just
chills
listened
down
to
my
it.
spine.
Wow. Yeah, we'll throw that in really quick.
Oh, good, because I don't want people to think I'm crazy.
川西の瀬口県四のべ橋崎山うぐいしゅの森進みがたきただいらんの一の通り上に山下ささび古府台時和台妙見口
You know, on the subject of like sounds in the game that people have pulled out, going back to MGS4 and the whole sewer mission, there was a codec conversation that some people had extracted from the game that somehow just got left on the disc. And you know how in MGS4 they mentioned Dr. Madnar and then just pay it absolutely no mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you'd think that would turn a couple heads like this. You mean the dude who climbed on your back and got blown up by a missile? That dude? He's alive and he's okay and you're just gonna ignore it. Okay, all right, that's cool, Snake. You know, whatever. There is actually a codec conversation with Otacon that would have been assumedly accessible during that sewer segment where Otacon says, you know, just want to let you know, Raiden is doing much better. Dr. Madnar was able to help him, and Snake's like, great. And Otacon's like, you have a history with him, don't you? And Snake's just kind of like, oh, yeah, huh. And Otacon goes, well, you know, Dr. Madnar had a message for you. You know, he wants you to know his daughter Ellen's doing well. She's married, and he's sorry for everything he did. And like, yeah, that's basically the conversation. And it's fully recorded in English, and yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well,
I'm glad they could find closure, I guess.
Right? In like 15
Sorry, bro.
seconds.
I didn't mean to climb on your back and try to pull you up. Yeah.
No hard feelings, right, pal?
We were just two guys on opposite sides of the battlefield. Just doing our jabs.
One guy a geriatric scientist, the other special agent.
You
know how it is.
If they had tried to pull off that message with that codec conversation, like turn it into some political spiel about we were just enemies at the time, I think I would have respected that more than him just being like, oh, sorry.
What was Snake's response to that? Like,
To be honest, Snake
all
just
good.
kind of sort of straight up acts like he barely remembers. Like it's like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. Like he's like, oh yeah, and that's it basically. Like yeah, I think it rings a bell. Like his memory really is slipping. Want to do some Q&A?
Let's do it.
Let's see. We hit a few of these last time, so
this is part 2 of Q&A. If your question wasn't answered last time, don't worry. It probably still won't be, but we picked the best ones.
Some of these were awful.
oh man. Okay. Saltiest Swede asks, pretty tough one. One that I don't like answering, but we're gonna try anyway. If there is one Metal Gear game that you can remake or remaster, which one would it be and why?
5, easy. I got a script and a design doc ready to go.
I'm never gonna let that go, are you?
Nope. And why would I? Yeah, I would remake 5 in a heartbeat. I would just scrap the 5 that exists, and I would start from scratch.
What would you do?
That's what it... okay, so actually, I got the idea from Nourish Psych. He started doing a project on the Mercenary War, and I thought that's a great idea. And so I would do the Mercenary War.
All right.
Leading up to the Celino Yarsk's independence. That's the story I would tell.
So would you do some of the stuff like involving like Solidus back in like in that time period? Like
I mean, no, probably not.
I kind of did want that bit included a little bit. That seemed like right around the perfect time. Not exactly the time, but I do remember looking into the details of it. It didn't line up exactly, but
right. I think Solidus was. Yeah, Solidus was. He was doing the where was he in? Where's Raiden from? Liberia. That's it. So that was like in 84. So the Mercenary War happens in like 80, 89 or so.
Yeah.
And so no, I don't think I would do any Solidus stuff. But yeah, instead of telling the garbage story they told in 5, which did take place in 1984, they totally could have done some stuff with Solidus and had a young Raiden, but instead we get stupid Eli and his never be game over bullshit vest. Like he's not even wearing sunscreen. He would have burned to a crisp. So yeah, I instead of just telling some bullshit story about this made up dude Skullface and how like, oh, guess what? I was there the whole time watching your back, and then now I put a bomb in some girl's hoo-ha and I'm evil. Like that's no, yeah, I would absolutely remake 5. I mean, don't even remake it. Just scrap it from existence and start over.
So what would you go with the same sort of meta-narrative approach, or would you do something entirely different?
What do you mean meta-narrative? Please elaborate.
Okay, so MGS5 is clearly got this underlying thread of sort of like, you're gonna feel it when Metal Gear's gone, right?
Oh, fuck no, I wouldn't do that. No. Why? No. That's... No. It's like, why would I...
Well, that's what I'm asking. What would you do? Or would you just eschew that entirely?
I don't mind if Metal Gear continues as a series. I'm glad it ended, but it's like, after all that time, it was like, damn, I really should have quit after 2, like the creator of the series had been telling me for a decade. But instead, I just kept it going. And it's my fault, right? I set myself up for failure.
We all did.
It's like... Yeah, it's like if you want your franchise to keep going, I'm not going to blame a lion for eating a gazelle. The dude is hungry. Corporations are going to corp. That's what they do. So, like, if you want to have your flagship franchise, Metal Gear Solid, you want it to keep going, let's do that.
Let me put this another way. Let me put it another way. I don't mean this pejoratively. I'm asking it earnestly. What would be the point of your version?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. And I'm going to try my best to not go on a 2-hour rant because I'm good at that. But it's really simple. You actually adhere to the ad campaign. You want to show how men become demons, then it's never been sold to me that Big Boss is a villain. I don't buy the fact that he's a terrorist and, you know, he wants to destroy the world. I understand the seeds that were planted, you know, him killing his mentor and you know, joining the Patriots and you know, him being betrayed by Zero after he fell into his first coma and he's cloned against his wishes, and now he has these Frankenstein's monsters that look like him, and he wants to form his own you know, private military unit. Okay, I get that. But I don't for a second believe that he wanted to declare war on the entire planet. And the reason why is because
Can I interject for 1 second?
Please,
go ahead and finish your thought, and then I wanna interject with something.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason why I think that is because we never play as a big boss that is villainous in any way. He's only ever trying to save the world from nuclear devastation. So
yeah, I think the trailers did a better job of like making it seem like, oh, here we go, we're about to have a bad villainous time. He's about, oh, he shot those kids that were in the jail.
Right.
Man, this is gonna be dark. And it's like,
super
no,
dark.
Hi, I'm Venom Snake. I'm good guy. Come with me. We'll have fun on base. I don't know why I was Russian just now, but you know, it's
that's what I would do. My MGS5 Snake is now Russian. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nitrode, what were you gonna say?
I think the reason that it's hard to buy Big Boss as a villain is because of 2 reasons. One, because, and I'm not saying this is how you expect it, but there seems to be this need to see him as sort of a comic book villain with very clearly nefarious goals that are sort of black and white.
Right.
So I'm not saying that's what you want, but that is something I see a lot from anyone who says I don't buy him as a villain. So
well, here's the worst part is that Metal Gear fans, they see Big Boss as, at least the ones that I've interacted with for over 3 years, they see Big Boss as this comic book villain, and they justify things like him using child soldiers, which never actually happened. You know, him declaring nuclear war. He didn't actually launch a nuke, he just threatened to. So I would actually...
Oh, that's much better.
Those kids were chilling at Zanzibar Land. Like, I don't know.
They were having a great time, but they weren't in active combat. Like, but now Solidus, on the other hand, he used child soldiers, but we never see that, which is like,
you always see Solidus
coward,
did nothing
Kojima.
wrong. Wait, did we start the episode?
I mean, he did hold the world ransom.
Right, but he didn't kill anybody. And
Oh, come on.
Look, I would go into detail. My MGS5 would tell that story. Why is he doing it? What are his motivations?
Point 2 is important. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just gonna say, to that point, I've always felt this weird cognitive dissonance between Metal Gear Solid 5's promotional material and like Metal Gear's message as a overall. In a sense that like, you know, with Big Boss's story from up until 5, so like Peace Walker, 3, and to some degree Portable Ops, it always felt like the story of, you know, I get why this guy ended up kind of shitty, but I see why he was shitty, and his motives made sense. Whereas...
But we got that from MGS3. I mean, anybody with a brain could tell, like, oh, so that's why he goes that direction.
Exactly. Like, it just takes a little bit of push, and, you know, not to sound like the Joker, but, you know, you don't need... I never felt like Metal Gear was a series that needed to show something so volatile to prove Big Boss's villainy. It feels like cognitive dissonance from the message I got from the series.
Yeah.
So point 2, and this is the big one, I feel like, for why it's hard to buy him as a villain. And this is, in part, the fault of... you could argue it's Metal Gear Solid 2's fault. It may be more like Portable Ops and Onward's fault for this. It really depends, but the point I'm going to make is this. The fact that the series was framed around a global conspiracy undermines any interpretation of Big Boss as sort of an organic villain. Because anything he does, you can say, oh, it's because there's a bigger threat that he's trying to confront.
Okay, so what? Yeah, that's what I would show. What's the bigger threat? Why did you form Outer Heaven? Why did you form Zanzibar? You know, to declare war on the entire world that's being controlled by this old man in a wheelchair. I need to know why. I need your motivations, and you have to earn that from me. You can't just tell me it happened.
I mean, wasn't that Skullface, though?
No.
The fact that there is a global conspiracy that he is juxtaposed against will almost always frame him as the hero. Like, it's going to be really hard to write that story where you've got
that's cowardice.
You don't think so?
In my eyes, that's cowardice on Kojima's part. It's like, you know, he wants to tell this compelling story that involves child soldiers and rape, but he doesn't actually, you know, include any of it on screen. You know, he's just like, oh, look at all this intense adult subject matter, but he's just skirting around the issue. And no, it's... Wait, what was your question?
Well, there is an interesting story to tell there if you want to go, like, how far are you willing to go to stop what you think is a greater threat? What's the line you're willing to cross? Like, that's an interesting story.
Yes, it is. So tell the story. Why didn't you do that in 10 games?
Because he wanted to tell a story about quitting Metal Gear.
Right. So, I mean, you know, hand off your story to someone else. Look, I'm just answering the question. What game would I remake? I mean, now that we've gone down this tangent, I'd go back and then I'd remake 2 and just kill Raiden, kill Snake. I'd kill everybody. I'd blow up the entire world, and we wouldn't have a series to talk about.
The firing squad ending happens in 2 instead of 4. They just write it in early. Nope, you guys messed up. That was illegal back there. Hey.
Just a bunch of NYPD just like pull up on Snake and Raiden at the Federal Building. And I'm just like, put the guns down. That's it.
Yeah, it is a little weird that nobody reacts to them.
Everybody just goes on.
Vamp's just chilling in the back.
I feel like the New York citizens were just like, dude, those two must really be into bondage. I'm gonna steer clear of that.
It's just another day.
Just like, I walk in here.
Cosplayers are getting out of control. I'm crawling over here.
Where's the GIMP?
Oh, man.
Anyway,
Well,
all right.
I think on that point, though, you could definitely do like a remake of Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake and kind of tell some of those, things a little differently and make, paint them as more villainous.
Maybe. I don't know.
Wait a second. A couple episodes ago, you guys were getting ready to tear my head off because I said that the Metal Gear 1 and 2 weren't super important. And now you want to add stuff? Hold on a second. I thought they were perfect.
I think they're important and they already tell a story, but I'm saying you could make, it's like you kind of hear them talk about, oh, Big Boss has us here and we're child soldiers, type thing. It's like you could show a little more of that. And that's and see how things were there.
So
I think that if you did that without Kojima directing it, it would come off a lot like Silent Hill Origins.
I can see
know,
that
flat.
execution.
Damn.
But to that point, that was actually going to be my answer. I didn't really think too much in the details, but as far as like off the top of my head, what I would want a remake of, I was thinking of like a Metal Gear 1/2, almost in if you guys remember like Mortal Kombat 9, how it had this. I know that it was like a new timeline in general, but the way they sort of blended the simple plots of the previous series games to create this bigger story for the current gen. I'd be interested in seeing that. And I'm not going to speak as to whether we should use that to refine Big Boss's evilness or, if we even want to implement the whole retcon from MGS5 or if we want to do whatever Vector wants to do with MGS5 and apply it to Metal Gear 1 and 2. But, I think that would be an interesting project to look at. Also because I thought Mortal Kombat 9 was so well done. I would love to see it implemented the same way with Metal Gear 1 and 2.
No, I think that's a phenomenal idea.
I think I've heard so many people say, and like I kind of get like a little chill when I hear this too, and you guys will probably roll your eyes at it, but like imagine, just like that ending part of the Phantom Pain. He walks off, and then he goes out, and then you fight Solid Snake at that part. Bam, flashes back to the beginning of Metal Gear when you're first infiltrating Outer Heaven, and then you start that part, and then you fight Venom as Solid Snake. This is all in the Fox engine. Of course the levels and the maps are all kind of playing differently. You have some of this puzzle element stuff going on, but then there's some kind of, because the game's not but so long, then somehow transfer into Metal Gear 2.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like both of your ideas. I think it's a great idea to combine Metal Gear 1 and 2 into a single experience. It would be an experiment though. So, and have but actually, that 4-year time gap, you could actually have that be playable where, what is Snake doing? He's supposed to be retired and, and then he gets pulled back in for one last job. Yeah, I think that's great. Have him maybe be in contact with Gray Fox leading up to Metal Gear 2, and then that makes that final battle that much more, it hits you in the face that much harder, because you build that friendship with that in between time. Man, yeah.
You get an epilogue where you get to get some fondue with Kaz. Oh, good shit.
And you have to feed him because he's blind and he's missing most of his limbs.
Yeah.
So it's super romantic.
I am very anti-remake. You guys know this, but if we're humoring the idea of a Metal Gear 1 and 2 remake, I think it would be extremely difficult to fit it into the style of modern Metal Gear effectively. It kind of harkens back to that point.
The hardest part.
Well, let me be specific because it sort of harkens back to that question I asked you, Vector, which is what would be the point of the story? And every Metal Gear sort of has that sort of larger meta point. So if the question is, are you going to apply that same layer to Metal Gear 1 and 2 if remade, or are you going to omit it? Because they were made before this was like a thing that Metal Gear did. They didn't have that layer. So would you try to add that layer on?
Well, now that we have so much that has been retroactively added to Metal Gear 1 and 2, Ocelot's involvement, the boss's importance to why Outer Heaven was formed. And, my headcanon was, Outer Heaven was just like the beta test, and Zanzibar Land was what it was supposed to be. Because I think it was
I like that.
I think it was the MGS4 novelization, or it might have been actually the database that hinted, it wasn't confirmed, but it hinted that Zanzibar Land was actually Tselino Yarsk.
Right.
I don't know how.
I did see that somewhere.
Yeah, it's a thing. So it makes sense that, Big Boss he formed Outer Heaven to see, to figure out where his weaknesses were, and then for the final iteration, which was Zanzibar.
It's like, I know a place where things are kind of hostile.
Yeah, I
Right.
think it was. I think you're right. I think it was MGS4's novelization
Yeah, I do remember that.
by Project Ito. So I think that was his.
Yeah. So, and it totally makes sense with Venom. Like that's why he had Venom do what he did to run Outer Heaven, so that he could secretly build Zanzibar Land.
Just annex a part of Russia.
Right. Yeah. Well, it technically wasn't in Russia, but we don't know where it is. That's the thing. It's a fake made up country. So, but the thing is, you gotta have the mercenary war. That's like one of the biggest pieces of Metal Gear lore. I want it playable. Ooh, here's the point of doing mercenary war. You actually have Big Boss train Sniper Wolf in the art of marksmanship. Just give me that, and I will stop complaining for the rest of my days.
I'll tell you this: it would make that version of MGO way more interesting.
Dude, seriously. And have the scene where Big Boss breaks a Gray Fox out of prison, where he has his nose and ears cut off.
Did you guys know that you could get a flight to Zanzibar for $1,500 right now? COVID prices. Sorry, I just looked that up randomly. But to your point, Nitroid, about framing this around some sort of meta-narrative or theme, I think that, I guess, again, this is all brainstorming, so these ideas are like 2 minutes old. But I think a good theme that we could consider maybe is to frame it around like refinement, in a sense that we are refining the Metal Gear 1 and 2 experience while also refining Snake's, I guess, recollection or...
You're hitting on something. So I gotta find a way to word this before I lose it, because every Metal Gear has its own meta-narrative, but it also is sort of self-reflective. It's kind of about itself,
Sure.
right? The later ones tend to be anyway. But if this is a remake of an older idea, you parallel that idea of remaking Metal Gear 1 and 2 anew, more refined, with fewer what you might see in hindsight as mistakes. Align that next to Outer Heaven being the original and Zanzibar Land being the remake.
Ooh.
And you cut the game in half. You have two halves of the game.
Metal Gear refinement.
First one's free.
Watch people on Twitter be like, see, it's proof they're making a new Metal
Oh
Gear.
my god.
Oh god.
We've become full circle. We've become the problem we hate the most.
Right.
I'll
And
give you
people are
my
gonna
answer.
Get mad at us. Why'd you fire Kojima? Kojima Frequency.
Someone will. My answer to the question is kind of boring.
Why'd you replace Koji Pro?
I've gotten, I've told you before, I've gotten emails that I
Yeah.
probably shouldn't have from people who thought this was official. My answer to the question is kind of boring. Remaster Metal Gear Solid 4, put it on a next-gen platform, 4K, 60 frames per second. Let's get that game flying, because I may not like it, but it deserves to be played at a proper frame rate.
As someone who is playing Death Stranding at 60 frames, and that's just because it's frame locked, I agree.
Like, I wanna see how good that game can look, and some of the emulation tests that have been done with MGS4 are just amazing looking.
Okay, I see you, and I raise you the original version of Rising.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know,
That's something that next gen may be able to handle.
you might have me there.
Yeah, with the original script.
It wasn't that it wasn't... I thought the problem wasn't that the system couldn't handle it, it was that it was boring.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some rumors about the dev team like not like really able to pull that off?
Yeah, I'll tell you though,
And
looking
that was
at
also
that,
about the boss game as well. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not even gonna try to put that on them."
I mean,
that's
and reframe what I just said to add to that context that you gave me. There have been a lot of gameplay mechanics that just couldn't be fleshed out to be interesting in previous gens that ended up being fleshed out later on. I can't think of any of those at the moment, but I promise you that has happened. So, yeah, I don't know.
something about that initial art style too was really unsettling to me. The way that I don't know what it was about that first gameplay trailer where he's cutting through soldiers like butter. Like they're not
Right.
even there. There's something about the original Metal Gear Solid Rising compared to Revengeance. There is a difference in the way he was cutting through enemies, and something about that original one just made me sick to my stomach to look at. I don't know what it was. It just
No, I don't blame you at all.
something was wrong
Yeah.
about that.
Right,
And then
it was,
when Platinum got a hold of it, it took on sort of a comical tone in a way. Even
Right,
though it was
exactly.
just as smooth, something about it changed and it didn't give me that feeling.
Someone was talking about that. I think it was one of the devs on the Doom Eternal, where they were kind of saying like we kind of made it like cartoony, like when you pop the eyeball out, it makes like a little pop sound.
Which I hate because
yeah.
it's the same sound every single
But that's the
time,
thing,
and
it's
you
like they-
hear it.
Yeah, it does get old, but they weren't going for the realistic like Mortal Kombat X-ray level of grossness,
Just
where you're like,
gruesome,
oh
grotesque.
god, that
Right, sickening,
hurt.
bone crunching.
Yeah, my
Something
spine.
about that Metal Gear Solid Rising, man, it was just too visceral.
Right.
Just ugh.
Yeah.
I think we can tie that question in to one of these other questions that we got from on Twitter. He's at _the Gooch. He said, "Why do you
before
think?"
that, I just
Okay.
wanted to hats off to Salty Swede for sparking a
Salty
very
is sweet.
interesting
Shout out.
conversation. Go right ahead.
He said, "Why do you think Konami hasn't made current gen ports of all the MGS games? Not even talking remasters, just simple ports. It seems silly they don't have a beloved franchise such as MGS available, all in one place, all Resident Evil or Kingdom Hearts." What? Okay. Thanks. Love the show. Anthony Ragucci. Appreciate the question.
Yeah, I think you meant like Kingdom Hearts or
That
or,
was just a typo. Okay. I
Yeah,
just got
because you
confused
can
myself
essentially buy one game and have every single Kingdom Hearts game on it.
there. Yeah.
yeah,
Which
but
is
you
crazy
can't
to
do
think
that
about.
for Resident Evil.
No, but you can get close.
Yeah, and PS3 is the place to be if you want to play MGS and all of the versions, pretty much.
Right.
I've got a theory, but I don't. It's just a feeling. I don't have any evidence to support it. It's just my gut
Okay.
feeling about this. Metal Gear, throughout Kojima's career, he sort of became the gatekeeper of that franchise. There were certain things that he would allow for it and certain things he wouldn't allow for it. So like even the more gaudy aspects of the franchise that would manifest from time to time, like Mountain Dew and Axe body spray and Doritos and all that crap in Portable or in Peace Walker, like that was very clearly done his way and not someone else's way, right? Like he functions as the gatekeeper, and I feel like, I don't know if I'm putting this very well, but without him, that element of having a gatekeeper is gone. And there's not really anyone saying we should do this or we should do that anymore. Like, obviously, Korikato has taken over essentially that role of being the gatekeeper for Metal Gear. But I wonder if there have been all of these mechanisms in place for so long that said what is and isn't Metal Gear, what it should and should not do, that maybe they're still in the process of unraveling all of that and figuring out what they want to do with this franchise from here on out. Like maybe they haven't quite answered that question yet.
Well, that's not even this question. The question is why do you think Konami hasn't made current gen ports, right? So yes, you can play most of the games on PS3, but it's the same reason why Capcom hasn't put Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica on PS4 or Xbox One, is because it's not necessary. If you want to play it that bad,
Well,
get
it
a
is an answer to
PS3.
that question. It is an answer to that question because I'm saying maybe as crazy as it sounds, because you have to think about this in terms of being someone in a large machine that is making products, maybe the answer is as simple as the thought just hasn't occurred to them in a realistic sense yet.
Okay.
Well, the fans have been screaming for it for a long time, for sure.
Right.
Right,
Look
but
at
there's
what
a
just
lot
happened with Silent Hill.
There's a lot to balance there, you know? It's just possible that they're like, okay, well, you know, we're getting like a million things thrown at us. What do we do?
And two, with the controller, I know there's some issues with that, like just the like button sensitivity with the face buttons on PS3. Like playing Snake Eater would be tricky, but God, there's got to be a way to use the touchpad or something like, you know, like there has to be a solution to that simple problem. But
well, on the Vita, you would just press down on the D-pad to lower the gun, but when it comes to like CQC sensitivity,
exactly. That's what I'm talking about. The CQC was.
And that was going to be my answer. Well, kind of partially, in that, you know, again, looking at this from a sterile software development at a corporation perspective, that, you know, some accountant just did the math and determined that right now, it could be different in the future, but right now, the cost that it would take to port these functions in these games and try to port both the code and the, you know, those specific like functionalities to a current gen or next gen, it's just not worth the cost or wouldn't be covered by the demand. You know, despite the fact that the demand is so high, they just don't see the books just don't check out. That's pretty much the only answer I can think of.
That sort of number crunching, by the way, is why I think Metal Gear Solid 4 hasn't been ported. Not because of what people typically say, which is that, oh, it was made for the cell processor and it was using the PS3 so much harder than any other game. And like, yes, it was developed, you know, in a very directed way for that system specifically. But there are tools that Sony has for porting over cell games. There is already an x86 version of the Metal Gear Solid 4 engine. It was used for Metal Gear Arcade, so it already runs natively in Windows. Essentially, you would have to remake the whole game, but like these games are usually built for PC and then worked into. I don't know enough about the process to speak with any sort of authority on it, but what I do understand is that it's not as crazy impossible as a lot of fans say it is. You know?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
The thing that I believe is probably going to hold them back are all the licenses.
Oh yeah.
Shit. Good point.
I didn't even think about that.
We're talking
gun
Apple.
licenses
We're
too,
talking
like,
Regained. Yeah, we're talking what, like 60 plus weapons that are all real world.
And they all want that check.
Yep.
Damn.
I bet, and
That's
plus
an
you've got all the
excellent
Sony branding in the game, so if they take it multi-platform, that's going to have to be adjusted as well. What are you going to do about Otacon's, oh, we're on PlayStation 3 line? You're going to have to re-record that, so that's paying voice act. I mean, the logistics of porting that game...
they can use Cameo. It's
Yeah,
$20.
right.
It's whatever you fucking charge.
No, they would cut it.
That's kind of what I'm saying, is those specific logistics.
It's a logistics thing.
You know, they've determined that it's not worth the opportunity cost and the actual cost to update that, as much as we would love it.
Maybe someday.
I think as the PS4 is getting towards the kind of end of its cycle, though, like if we were to see it on this, like it would be, you know, the next couple of years or something where we would hear something. At least like do like what the HD collection was. Like don't worry about 4, but get, you know, 1, 2, and 3 out there.
Look,
Get their Peace
people.
Walker.
Tony Rags, this is for you, Gooch. Look, you'll get all the MGS games on current gen consoles when you get all the Resident Evil games on current gen consoles. But the thing is, just like what happened with Silent Hill, you can't remaster or re-release the previous games because it's going to create all this buzz that Konami's making games again, and that's gonna mess with their stockholders, you know, because they have promises to their stockholders that they're not going to make games and, you know, they're going to focus on making profits. So if all the Twitterverse is a buzz saying Konami is going to make another Metal Gear, then their stock price is going to fluctuate, and, you know, they don't want to take that risk. So that's why.
I'm not sure if you're being facetious or not.
How would I be being facetious?
Because
seriously,
they never actually said they were going to stop making games. They just said they were going to shift somewhat more in a different direction. They're not completely abandoning AAA games development. But I will say, I think you did touch on something, which is that to release like the Legacy Collection on PS4 right now might not be a smart thing to do if they don't have any other games on the horizon, because that seems like the kind of thing you would want to do to build hype for something that's coming up. So that may be part of a larger strategy at some point rather than just a thing they put out to make money with.
Yeah, could be. But MGS5 was how long ago? 5 years? And we've seen nothing from them
I'm
since.
afraid it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
That's why I said I just think they lost their auteur. There's nobody that has like a clear vision moving forward, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do with this thing.
And I think they also realized they always had that in their pocket too. Like it's like, of course we can. Yeah, it's like somebody announcing that like in the meeting room. They're like, "Shut up, John. We know. Like, we know we can release it again, but right now we're gonna do this other stuff." And I kind of like to see this like shift as like a fundraising thing for doing cool shit in the future. I'm being super positive again, but that's kind of what I hope they're doing, is like they're trying to make some money so they can do some of these bigger AAA games.
I can't help it. I'm an optimist. It's just how I think.
Yeah.
Well, look, great question, Gooch. The answer is it's complicated.
It's complicated, and we don't know.
But we do, it sounds like we're all in favor for it, so Konami, be a whole lot cooler if you did on PS4.
Put it on PC.
You really don't need it on Xbox either. Just like, don't worry about that. Just PS4 is fine.
PC.
Yeah, put them on Steam if you want.
Yeah, throw it on PC for the mod community. We can do that.